Hey everybody, welcome back. Now, at the risk today of finding myself at the bottom of a lake with a cinder block necklace, I'm going to go ahead and stick it in the eye of both Microsoft and Google, basically for being caught in the act of altering classic dictionary definitions. Now, in the last video, and this is very important, if you're new to the channel and you think I'm crazy, go ahead and get your tinfoil hat jokes ready. But look at this stuff up for yourself. This is not anywhere else. I don't know if anyone else has caught this yet, but I caught it and I wanted to share it. Now, again, back to yesterday's video, talked about oligarchy, how they keep talking about Russian oligarchs, and I made the comparison that, if they're oligarchs, then we've got them in the West too. You could say Bill Gates is an oligarch. You could say that Oprah Winfrey is an oligarch, and so on and so forth. And I was asked the question, of course, can you basically describe what an oligarch is? And I gave a very general description for the layman, because if you're not someone who's into political sciences or philosophy or classical literature, you probably didn't run across that word. You probably are not familiar with the term. And it's being thrown around a lot now in the media, and people might be curious and they might look it up. But unfortunately, almost everybody now uses the internet for everything. They don't have hard copies of everything, and you should always have physical media. You should always have hard copies of absolutely everything, if whatever it is, books, CDs, DVDs, vinyl records, video games, VHS cassettes, I don't care. Have a physical copy, because if it's in the cloud, if you will, they can change it, and that's what happened here. Now, first we're going to take a look online at Webster's dictionary, and I'm going to put this up on the screen, and that has not changed. And I'm going to compare it to this dictionary, which is from 1997. Here we go. Oligarch, a member or supporter of an oligarchy. Now, that doesn't tell you very much, but you go ahead and you flip to oligarchy in Webster's. Government by the few, a government in which a small group exercises control, especially for corrupt and selfish purposes. Also, a group exercising such control, an organization under oligarch control. And we'll go to the dictionary and read it. And again, this is from 1997. And in the dictionary, it says, oligarchy, a government in which power is in the hands of a few, a state having an oligarchy, also a group holding power in such a state. Basically the same essential concept. Now, going to classical definitions online, this is what it says. And I'm getting to a point here. This is real important. I'm going to, like I said, I'm going to stick Google and Microsoft in the eye here in a moment. Oligarchy, from Greek, oligarchia, to rule or to command, is a form of power structure in which power rests with a small number of people. These people may or may not be distinguished by one or several characteristics, such as nobility, fame, wealth, education, or corporate, religious, political, or military control. That's a pretty decent definition of what an oligarch is. Now, I had been having a discussion about this a couple of weeks back. And because I had mentioned it yesterday, I went and looked it up again this morning, and that's where I caught this. I had looked it up a couple of weeks back because I was talking to someone about it, and I looked it up on Bing, which is a Microsoft search engine, okay? And I looked it up again this morning, and this is what I found. Oligarch, a ruler in an oligarchy. And number two, especially in Russia, a very rich business leader with a great deal of political influence. That is not what it said when I looked it up 2 weeks ago, Microsoft. That is not what it said. It didn't say anything about Russia, and it did not specify rich business leaders either. They changed it. Sometime within the last couple of weeks, they changed it. Now, if you're someone who never heard the term before, or perhaps you're in high school and they tell you to look it up or to do research, and you find this, you're not going to know any better. You're not going to know any better because you never heard the word before, or you never knew what the original definition was. You never understood that. Now, that was Microsoft Bing, their dictionary. Let's take a look at Google's. You ready? Oligarch, a ruler in an oligarchy, especially in Russia, a very rich business leader with a great deal of political influence. Word for word, the exact same description on Google as on Microsoft Bing. The exact same description. Think about that. That is scary. They have the exact perfect same description. Now, I did not look it up on Google last week, but I'm willing to bet that that's not what it said. Because that's not what it said on Bing. And both of them are obviously pocketing into that narrative. Because we're all supposed to hate Russia right now, right? Now, again, it is very, very important for you all to have physical media. And this is why. Because they can change things and you might not even catch it. You might not even know, you might not even realize. It reeks of Orwell's 1984. If you remember Winston, his job in the records department at the Ministry of Truth was to do what? It was to change definitions. It was to change stories. They rewrote things. They took the truth. The Ministry of Truth, of course, was an oxymoron. They took the stories or the definitions and altered them to fit the state's narrative. That's what they did at the Ministry of Truth. The Ministry of Truth was a lie. And that's what Winston did for a living. And speaking of which, also, and another tie-in with this and why you should have physical media, if you recall in 2009, Amazon had deleted every copy of 1984 and Animal Farm from everybody's Kindle books. And people noticed this and said, hey, Amazon, what the hell? And it made big headlines at the time. And Amazon made an excuse that didn't wash, and they ended up having to give everybody their copies back. They basically said, oh, well, it had come to our attention that the distributor no longer had the rights to the book, so we removed it. But that was a violation of their own Kindle contract, if that was even true. That violated their contract, and they were called out on it, and they gave everybody their copies back. So an entire book can disappear, or it can be altered. Obviously, they're altering definitions. I wonder how long it'll be before they change it in Webster's. You can't be sure. You can't be sure. And I know there's probably some people, there might be some new people watching, if that's even possible, because ScrewTube sure doesn't like anybody to see my videos. But they might be watching and say, okay, what's the big deal? They added Russia to it. They added business to it, businesses or whatever. If they changed that, what else have they changed? What else has been changed in the past? What else will they change? And how will that affect you? You really need to ponder those questions. It's vitally important. Because you're all being manipulated all the time. This is just an example that I actually happened to catch. And I'm sorry, I do not have a screenshot from a couple of weeks back because, didn't think to do it. But there's no way to go back and find it now. And if Google or Microsoft were called out on it, they just deny it. And how can you prove it? How can you prove it? What are you going to do? Stay vigilant. Be smart. Think for yourself. Stop letting other people tell you what things are and how things are. Don't trust any media source, even social media. Don't think it hasn't been infiltrated. And always, always have physical copies of anything that's important to you. I don't know if anyone else noticed that or have noticed any other examples. If you've noticed any other examples, please post it in the comment section down below. Please do give the video a thumbs up if you got something out of that. Share it if you can. Subscribe if you know the routine. Check out some of the other videos if you haven't. Sharing it's probably the only way it'll get seen. The channel is very oppressed by the powers that be. If you're curious about the cat images, if you're new to the channel, they're strays that I take care of. and I put the images up because it actually helps with the loading algorithm on the channel. If you wanted to help the channel out, or the cats, a lot of times people help the channel and they say, hey, this is for the kitties. I spend plenty on animal food, believe me. There are links for that down below. Every little bit helps, and I sure do appreciate it. And if that's it, then what more can I say but stay frosty, folks, and thanks for watching.